Do you have trouble sleeping at night time, obviously? I'm not suggesting for a moment do you have trouble sleeping, like it just keeps coming up upon you and you're falling asleep. No, do you have a trouble sleeping at night time? I mean, with all the sort of nonsense going on in the world and the stresses and the various things that we have to think about in our lives, these stressful lives that we lead in this modern 21st century, you might be one of these people that do struggle. You know, you've got letters from people saying, we want money from you. You've got trying to pay mortgages or rental. You've got institutions that you might be part of or belonging to that are taxing you about where the next money is coming from. Or you might be in work or out of work, and that is stressful enough. You might have line managers. You might be a line manager who's got to go and tell people off or increase the productivity of people. You may be somebody who's about to be evicted. You may be somebody who's got the police on your back. You may be somebody who's absolutely got everything sorted in your life, and yet you still have trouble sleeping because of outside influences. Perhaps it's the EMFs, perhaps it's neighbours and noise. All sorts of things these days stop us and prevent us from sleeping or interrupt our sleep, or we wake up in the middle of the night and we start fretting, or we can't get back to sleep. We can't sleep one way or sleep the other way, all these things. I'm not an expert in anything, so I don't necessarily take this as medical advice or anything, but just I was thinking about this this morning. I got up early, not because I actually had trouble sleeping, but I was thinking I've had a nice sleep, which is lovely, but some people don't, do they? Because of the stresses and the strains of everything. And I thought, well, there's probably a lot of reasons for this and things that we can mitigate. And I thought, well, perhaps this would make a useful video. I don't know. You may think I'm getting above my station here, but who knows? So one of the things I thought that people might probably in these days of stresses and strains is not drinking enough water. If we don't drink enough water, particularly with a little bit of Celtic sea salt, for example, to get the salts into our bodies, we are dehydrated. And on the whole, most of us don't drink sufficient quantities of water. That's not to say that we need to drink gallons and gallons of it. We need to keep sipping throughout the day because we perspire and we lose a lot of water naturally. And of course, on hot days, busy days, or stressful days, we probably lose a lot more water than that. Another thing that we can do, and what I do, is turn off the router in the house. So you have as little electronic, EMFs, electronic magnetic radiation or frequencies, off as much as possible. I put my phone into the microwave. I don't use the microwave. The microwave I've had for years and years ago. I don't use it because I don't want to radiate my food. But I keep the microwave because it makes a very good Faraday cage. It's not plugged in or anything like that. And at night time, I put the phone, I either turn it completely off or I'll put it on airplane mode and then put it in the microwave. I don't want any extra radiation coming from that. And we can, mitigate to a certain extent those sort of things. Obviously, the 5G towers and the 4G towers are still radiating at us. And if we're stuck near one of those, well, the sooner we get those down, the better, really, because they're not healthy. But what we can do is mitigate the radiation in the house. In the past, I've turned off the electricity completely. I don't do that so much now, but I leave very little switched on because of the dirty electricity in the ring main. And that's another thing that one can do to mitigate that and get a good night's sleep. Having a hot bath, of course, or a nice shower before bed conditions the body to sleep, but it's not always practical, and it can be expensive if you've got to heat up the water, of course. But what do you do if you wake up in the night? You might be, I go to sleep, Julia will tell you, when my head hits the pillow, I'm out. I'm out like that. I'm a good, I get out very quickly. Occasionally I do wake up in the night, call of nature, but generally I sleep quite well, very well, I should say, not quite well, very well, really. But sometimes, you do wake up and something occurs to you. And that's the thing, isn't that the most awful part? Is you've gone to bed, you've gone to sleep because your body is tired, and then you've had, say, 4 hours, and you've gone through those, whatever it is, the waves of sleep down to the somnolestic. Is it the somnolestic stage? You've gone through REM, and you wake up for whatever reason, and then suddenly you find yourself you can't sleep, and you're fretting, and you're thinking about things, and you can't stop thinking about things. Because the advice that I've heard is that the best thing to do is to get up, is to actually get up. Instead of lying there thinking, oh, I ought to get up, is to get up. Because there is an association with the bedroom and the bed for sleep. But if we have an association in our subconscious minds that actually you can lie and be awake in that room, then we're more likely to stay awake in that room. So if one can't sleep, it's best to come downstairs, have a glass of water or a glass of raw milk or even a cup of tea. I mean, bear in mind caffeine and stuff is a stimulant, although I find sometimes I can have a cup of coffee, doesn't seem to affect me. If you're a smoker, you might want to sort of maybe have a smoke if it's mild at night time. That's another thing that can keep us awake, the very hot temperature. Well, you might want to have a smoke outside. But the important thing is to sort of leave the room, do something for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, and then have that cup of tea, have that milk, whatever it is, and then go back to bed. And in the past, I've found that works really well. I'm not trying to teach you to suck eggs. I'm just aware that people are very much stressed, and these things can play on the mind, and in the quietude of the night, that's when they can play on the mind more so. And we do need a good 7 to 8 hours sleep. People try to skimp on sleep, but that's really not a very good thing. The body absolutely needs good quality, quiet sleep. Obviously, if your neighbours are noisy, that's very difficult. And I don't suggest you go around and berate them to turn down their hi-fi systems or whatever it is, or stop arguing. And the sad thing is that the house building these days, people want these new houses. I can't quite think why, these rabbit hutches, but their walls are paper thin. So you can hear everything that goes on in the neighbour's house, their television, which is blaring up. Television is another thing. Switch the damn thing off, throw it out the window, don't watch it, don't watch the news. This is key, I think, to a lot of people stressing about what's going in the world. Mostly what's coming out from the television, the mainstream media, Netflix and Amazon Prime and all these sort of things, and even YouTube. YouTube, if you start looking at what's going on in the world, you'll just get tons of thumbnails, scary thumbnails that go, look what's just happened, look at this, they're trying to do this, so-and-so's doing that now. I mean, they deliberately put these scary thumbnails on to make you want to see what it is. That's the whole point, isn't it? It's there's a word for it, I forget what it is, where they, tease you in. You'll know the word I mean. But, and I don't want to watch any of that, and I don't. I avoid all of that. Because that works on the subconscious. Subconsciously you're thinking, crikey, there's a war going on over here, or they may be doing that, or he says this, and he says that's going to happen. And I've said this before, many of the YouTubers in this area that we talk about, and I've been guilty myself, but I'm trying to move away from the scary stuff. I really am. I don't want to scare people. Most of this stuff that people talk about doesn't in the end happen. How many times have we heard about there's going to be a financial crash, get your money out the bank tomorrow because it's going to be shut down the next day, and it doesn't happen. I've heard, supposedly very reliable YouTubers talking about this as if, they're financial experts. Hasn't happened. We've seen, the whole global warming nonsense, have we not? and we've been told that, you know, there's going to be flooding and this, that and the other. And we've been told, of course, in the long distance past, we were told there was going to be another ice age. And none of these things have happened. These things cause us unnecessary worries, and they give us sleepless nights. Don't watch the news. That's my advice. That is advice. I think that the narrative that comes out the box in the corner, out the screen in the hand, is often mostly misguided and also untrue, particularly when it comes from authority figures who are telling you what's about to happen. It doesn't help that today, as I record this, the government wish to interfere with your life by putting out an alert on your phone about 3 o'clock, I believe it is. My phone will be switched off all day. I'm not going to be bothering having it on and listening out for this warning thing. Another thing to get you stressed, because they want you to be stressed. They want you to be worried. They want you not to sleep. They want you to fret. It's no good. We want a nice, peaceful, quiet life. We could have had a quiet, peaceful life, and we still can. If we throw the blooming mainstream media stuff, if we all stop watching it, they can't do the things they want to do. Nobody seems to get that. If we stop watching all these fearful YouTube videos, then they can't manipulate you. They can't hypnotize you, because that's what it is, and put you into a state of fear and get you worried about things. So that's a biggie for me, is not to watch those things. All of it would go away. You think, well, but it would still happen, wouldn't it? You know, well, not if everybody starts not watching it, because they would be aware that nobody's paying any attention to them. That's the key thing. We give them the attention, and then they can do us so much by fear, injecting fear into us, and hence the sleepless nights that people experience. And as a result of sleepless nights, they get into this ill health, and then that's the spiral down where you're worried about your health and things like that. Another thing that one can do, I often find, is before I go to bed, before I go to sleep, is to put into your mind affirmations. So I might spend a few moments, and they literally are a few moments, because I'm out like a light at night time before I go to sleep, to think beautiful things, to tell myself life is good, to tell myself that there is good in the world, that we're going to be okay. Now you might say, well, that's false promises. But if it belies the mind and helps me sleep, so much the better. And particularly in the mornings, it's good to do the same, to tell yourself you're going to have a good day, that things are getting better, that things are not as worrying as you first thought. And to you know, if you turn off the lines of lies, i.e. the mainstream media, then you're not being fretted by those. And if you do have to check your phone a couple of hours after you've woken up, not first thing, oh my God, look at that, this is happening, and getting ourselves worried. It's nice to wake up more peacefully, isn't it? I know we have alarm clocks, and I know people have got to go to work and be there at certain times, but it's far better then to go to bed earlier and get up more slowly, rather than that jarring that wakes us up, oh crikey, and go straight into it. Our bodies are not really designed to do that. I try, where possible, to go to bed seasonally. So in the winter, you're going to hunker down a lot more. In the summer, I have perhaps less sleep because it's lighter. Following the seasons, to me, makes a lot of sense. Following what the sun is doing seems to be what our biology wants us to do. You may disagree with that. You may think, well, I'm going to get as much time out of life as possible. They say, don't they, it's a stupid expression, you're a long time dead. Well, I don't believe that that's true, because I don't believe actually that you die. You might cast off this physical realm, but you don't die, because the you is not the body. The soul and the I, as it were, the me bit, the me, the consciousness, is something else. I've spoken about that before, and that's what I believe. But you may have different sensations and may think that this is the only chance you get. And if that is, what a rotten chance it is. that we've allowed these nutters to be in charge and that they are controlling our lives the way they do. And the easiest and most simplest way is to sort of step out of their system and not be part of it, which is difficult, but I believe that's what we all ought to be doing. If you still can't sleep and you're lying there, then meditation is a good way to do that, either to lie there and do just simple breathing exercises. I find those very good. We shallow breathe most of the time, and a lot of the time we breathe through our mouths. But we shouldn't. We should be breathing through our nose. Our nose has got all the necessary stuff to filter out the nasties in the air. And we should be breathing through our noses and exhaling through our noses. Obviously, when you're talking, you do tend to breathe a bit through the mouth because you're trying to get the words in, or the breath in very quickly if you're delivering speeches and things. But where possible is to slow that breathing down at night time. Breathe deeply, breathe from the diaphragm, and breathe through the nose. And just concentrating on fewer breaths, longer breaths, holding your breath a bit, not to extremes that you turn blue. Regulating that breathing and doing some breath work is very good, because 10 minutes of that slows the body right down. Concentrating on the in, concentrating on holding it for a few moments and then exhaling. And doing that for like 10 minutes starts to put you back into a nice, peaceful sleep. And that really helps. Otherwise, of course, there are the hypnotic tapes that you can listen to, or channels, or music, perhaps it's music. Things to divert the mind from that busyness that fretting that's going on in your head. Those are sometimes things that can be done. So ultimately, I suppose, there are two things. There's the body side of things, keeping yourself fit, having a walk maybe last thing before you retire, perhaps after a meal, instead of just sitting there, perhaps allow it to settle for a moment and then just walk round the block. If you've got a dog, that's always something that one does, is it not? And then that way, as you walk, you can get your fretting and stuff out of your mind and go, phew, that's good. A little bit of physical work throughout the day is going to help you sleep, for sure, I think. So there's the physical side of things, and then there's the mental side of things, of telling yourself that things will be okay. Because we do worry about things. We've got an interview, and actually we worry about it, and sometimes that worry can bring that on. We almost are manifesting things. But often you can worry about something that's going to be awful, and I've done that on drives, and think, oh God, it's going to be an awful drive. But actually, when you do the drive, you're in the situation, and when you're in the now, things are so much better, rather than having to worry about something in the future that may or may not happen. So I don't know whether any of this has been very useful or not, or it's just a reminder of some of the things that one does. You probably know all this anyway, and you may be able to help somebody else who has problems sleeping. Anyway, sleep's very important for us, and I think that's one thing they don't want us to have. And anything that we can claim back to make our lives more meaningful, more peaceful, and more resourceful is something that we should be working on, because I believe that we're in a weird world at the moment in which incrementally, from different places, from the food that we eat or the food that is provided in supermarkets and places like that, to many of the products that we put onto us, these sprays and things, the chemicals, the radiation in the air, what they put into the water, is all there to bring us down. And sleep is one of those things that if we're worried about things, if we're fretting, if we're stressful, we don't get enough sleep, then when we are in the waking hours, we perhaps don't have such an enjoyable experience as we possibly could. And that's where we really want to grasp and mitigate all those things that are not useful to us and do something about it. It is a conscious decision, really, to switch off the television, to go for a walk, to drink a glass of water and make sure we're hydrated and things like that. It is a conscious decision, but if we get into a routine of doing that, it's so much easier. Anyway, as I say, you probably know all this. Why do I need to tell you? I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you to everybody who supports the channel with your gifts of money, and indeed those that have been using the link to buy little bits of silver or gold. That's very, very kind of you. I really appreciate that sort of feedback. That's so nice. And I will talk to you again very soon. Take care and bye for now.